Alrighty, thank you everybody for being here to our February Get Work Now webinar. My name is Derek Allenby. I'm the job placement coordinator for arts, language, and communication. We have some awesome representatives here from some even more awesome companies with White Eagle Insurance Solutions, Autism Behavioral Health Services, and Garden Health. And I would love to introduce the rest of my lovely team now.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Brittany Sneed. I am one of the job placement coordinators. I support science, technology, and health meta major, and I'm glad to see everyone today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming, especially to our wonderful employers here today. My name is Alexa Moore. I'm a job placement coordinator for society and education majors, and just excited to have you all here sharing about these available opportunities.
Yeah, awesome. So again, we love to give thanks here. So seriously, thank you all again to all the representatives who have joined us to provide us with all this awesome information about the opportunities that you guys have. If we could begin, we like to have each representative just take a minute, introduce yourself, your role, share about the products and or services that the company you're representing provides. We're gonna build on, we'll give you your own time to really expand on the positions in a minute, but we can start off with Sharif.
Hi, my name is Sharif Crawford. I'm with White Eagle Insurance Solutions. I head their sales and marketing team here out of Oakland, California. We specialize in all areas of insurance, from general liability to product liability and workers' compensation. What distinguishes us is that we have now developed a cannabis wing to service product liability, workers' compensation, freight, and charter for the cannabis industry in all legal markets. And that's what's distinguishing us today.
Great. What about Diego?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diego Hernandez. I'm the manager of student recruitment for Center for Social Dynamics. We work with children with autism. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that is in just a moment here. Pleasure to meet you guys.
Awesome. Lindsay.
My name's Lindsay Azevedo. I am the PM shift biorepository supervisor here at Garden Health. We are a oncology laboratory. What makes us special is that we are one of the first research labs that has developed a test kit that can detect stage 3 and stage 4 blood cancer with a blood sample instead of an invasive biopsy test.
Well,
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's too smart for me, but that's amazing. Sounds pretty cool. I'd love to hear more about that. So thank you guys. Little intros, and with that, we'll move back to our one of our employers. So Sharif, good sir, could you please tell us about some of the positions that you have with White Eagle Insurance Solutions? Oh, you might be muted.
Sorry about that. So we've been wholesaling our products for quite a while through people like Nationwide and AAA and Transamerica. And we have now decided to try to develop our own in-house agency in which we are selling our products directly to clients rather than going through third parties. So we're developing, you can think of our division here as a kind of a startup in the area of sales and marketing, in which we are trying to develop a sales development rep team and call center where people are able to call in and gain assistance on policies. A sales development rep team that is calling out proactively, cold calling and reaching out to warm leads that have been marketed through our marketing team to encourage them to fill out quotes, and then to set an appointment or meeting with an agent for an agent to further assist them with their policy needs. We are also looking for people in the marketing area in terms of digital content creation and research in the area of not only cannabis, because even though we are servicing the cannabis industry, we are not in the cannabis industry. We are in insurance industry. And so we don't know anything much, we don't know that much about cannabis. So we need someone who can come in and take control of our digital platforms and real estate and provide content surrounding the changes occurring around cannabis in each state as it becomes legalized, and the challenges that people in the cannabis industry face when it comes to financial instruments and products.
So definitely a wide range of positions, right? So definitely business, like folks, some of our students with background or majoring in business administration, stuff like that, but also, of course, digital marketing, communication, graphic design, like stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
There's a career trajectory that we see for anyone entering our organization, even at the starting entry level, which would be the sales development rep, the SDR. Hopefully being able to move them quickly into an agent role or into a leadership role where in which they are leading a team, managing a team themselves. Because as you know, the industry is opening fairly quickly, and we can't move fast enough to service the amount of people that we had to service state to state, state to state. Same thing with the marketing department. There's a lot of growth there, and they have their own career trajectory going on.
What are some of the qualifications required, and important skills to have, as it were, for some of these positions?
Really the only qualifications are one that you are you're able to work within in the United States without being sponsored and authorized to work within the United States. Two, that you're a go-getter. One of the cool things about the insurance industry is it isn't one of those industries that require you to have necessarily higher education in order to be successful. Really, you just need to be someone who's willing to aspire to greater things and willing to push harder than most. We have someone in here now, mother of three, who is extremely successful, pulling in well over 2,600 a week. She speaks English as a second language, and she's doing the SDR role. And we've set the standards, the performance standards, and the KPIs based off her performance.
That's one of the sales ones.
Yes, sales
Right.
Sales development rep. So the entry level part of sales.
Right.
The cool thing about it is that you're able to work on your own time. And it's basically your own business. You set your own hours, you call on your own time.
What about the qualifications for some of the more marketing focused positions?
So the qualifications with those are not stringent as well. We're just looking for someone who, once again, is able to be proactive in their research. The key here is someone who is able to provide informative information and content. The digital and the dynamic part of it could be dealt with on the back end. But really, we need someone who is able to do the research and find really actionable content on the cannabis industry and provide that information in a clean, short format that can be utilized across multiple social media platforms.
Groovy. So one of my favorite questions we kind of like to ask you guys is, well, thank you for sharing about those positions, but you kind of touched on it a little bit. But why your company? Why is this an ideal place to work at?
So White Eagle is ideal because it allows people to really come in on the ground floor level of a company in an industry that's really just starting to develop, allowing you to see the multiple facets of an organization and play a dynamic role in each one of those facets of that organization as it develops into and scales into a larger corporation. Not only that, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the company is dedicated and focused on their employees. And so anyone looking to move from the entry level into an agent role would be fully funded by the organization in terms of education and licensing into becoming an agent. Because we really believe our future is going to start with the people we bring in now.
Awesome. I love it. Is there anything you'd want to add before we move on to one of our other friends from other companies?
Not at this time.
Well, thank you, Sharif. Do you have like contact information you'd want us to share?
I do, and I can put that in the chat.
That would be great. Very cool. Well, if nothing else or nothing left, I will pass it on to Alexa Moore so she can introduce Diego.
Thank you, Sharif, for coming and sharing those opportunities. And thank you, Derek. I am happy to introduce Diego from Autism Behavioral Health. Well, no, I'm sorry. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, CSD, it's a mouthful. It's a CSD.
Yeah,
So
CSD.
autism behavioral.
And so happy that you came, and we're super excited to hear more about the positions. And I know that you did have a presentation. Did you want to use that PowerPoint?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and kind of pull that up right now.
All right, and let me make sure you're able. Oh, perfect. We can share.
Perfect. Loading. Perfect. So I guess just meet me, right? Like Alexa said, my name is Diego Hernandez. I'm the manager of student recruitment. I kind of, been in this field as far as like the whole ABA or working with children with autism ever since I kind of graduated high school, and I kind of just stumbled upon it. And the reason that kind of came about was my older brother. He actually worked in this field before me way back when. So he actually had mentioned to me like, hey, Diego, I know you're going to school. You need kind of money to kind of live, right? Nothing's kind of free in life. So he kind of suggested I kind of work with his organization because they were really flexible with school in terms of my schedule, and then it provided a pretty cool opportunity where I was making a difference in kind of having fun with students as well, right? Really kind of helping them grow and reach a level of independence. So that's how I kind of got my start. And later on, as I kind of worked within the field and within that organization, held different roles from like manager, staff training, so kind of training new hires, and then kind of worked into recruitment. And I even worked too in higher education, so kind of like both Derek, Alexa, and Brittany as well. So have a pretty good understanding of the whole student dynamic and the way that works. And like I said, we work with children with autism spectrum disorder. And some of you guys may know what it is, some of you guys might not. So I kind of have this slide to kind of just give you some tip of the iceberg, so to say, in the field. So it is a neurological developmental disorder. It does affect everyone a little bit differently. So, not if you've met someone with autism, chances are you've only met one person with autism. I've had students that had zero language, maybe minimal eye contact, to others that had, tons of language, and, maybe they kind of lack with social skills as well. And some of the things that you might notice too with folks with autism might be the little to no eye contact, maybe not responding to their name, repetitive behaviors. I had this one student that I loved, like this, I forget what cologne it is. Maybe it was like Ralph Lauren Black. So it's like one of my favorite like colognes, and I wore it and he absolutely hated it. So after that, I kind of started realizing like maybe, kind of wearing like cologne or kind of certain shirts might be a distraction to my students, to my clients. So that's kind of when I realized that whole sensitivity, right? Because we talk about it during training, but once you kind of experience it, you're like, okay, yes, this kind of makes sense. So what we do here at CSD is we provide ABA therapy, and stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, so different than the American Bar Association, just a little bit. Basically, we focus on behavior analysts. So we kind of want to kind of see how behavior works, how behavior is affected by the environment, and how learning takes place. And the way that ABA helps, children with autism. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be autism, but it is a big component of being on the spectrum. You can really apply ABA to like anything essentially. But the way it kind of works out is it helps increase language, communication skills too. It improves attention and focus skills as well. My wife, she works at the school side, not quite doing ABA, more as like a paraprofessional, and she notices students that are receiving ABA just by the attention and the responses and things like that versus those that might not. So she definitely sees how significant ABA therapy can be for a child that has autism. And then one of our main focus is to decrease problematic behaviors. So how does it work? We basically meet the needs of each child or each individual themselves. Like I mentioned, it is a spectrum disorder. So depending on where the individual is on the spectrum, it's really going to dictate the program. And think of the program as like, I don't know, college prerequisites, right? There is a path for like a general path. So if you're like majoring in like psychology, right? You kind of follow the path, and you can't really take your upper division course without passing those lower division courses. Similar type of program. An example of a program could be, I usually have a pen right here. Here it is. It could be like imitation. Hey, buddy, do this. And we're working on fine motor skills. Other things could be labeling the object. So what is it? And we have like pictures and everything that you need at the home as well. But, we use a lot of like reinforcements as well. So we try to build rapport with the student before we go out and do these activities with them. So a lot of times it's just really playing, interacting with them to get to know the student. Because sometimes if you just start asking a child to do stuff without really knowing them, they're going to be like, who are you? I've never met you in my life. Why should I respond to you? You have no idea of my likes and interests. So using those likes and interests to your advantage during shifts definitely can help out. So that's a little bit about the nuts and bolts to it. About us, we've been around for about 10 years. We specialize in in-home ABA services. We also have centers throughout the area. We have a center in San Bruno, but two throughout the Bay Area as well. And we have expanded to like school-based as well. So if you're interested in like kind of going the special education route or even education route in general, we do have like school-based needs. Right now, I think we have some needs in Daly City. And we're one of the few ABA companies too that offer like occupational therapy and SLP. So if you are interested in those professions, we do have OTs, SLPs that you can kind of talk internally and get to know them a little bit better and see kind of how they kind of got there as well. Because one of the big things that we as individuals do is like, hey, that OT, I want their job, but you don't realize like how they got there, right? A lot of it is from like doing entry-level positions like this or working with children, maybe at the school base, and then kind of gaining their experience and ultimately kind of continuing education as well. And then we have social groups as well, and then we do parent and family training as well. So the role that we typically hire for is a behavior specialist. There is a video there. I won't play it for the sake of time, but I will kind of include it in the chat afterwards. So if Alexa or anyone in the team can kind of provide that as well, it'd be great. It basically just shows a day in the life of a behavior specialist. It follows one of our behavior specialists throughout her sessions. But key components is you have fun with our clients while teaching them skills. Generally speaking, our students are going to be anywhere between the 4 to 10 age range. And then we do have behavior plans in place. When it comes down to, it's going to be implementing those plans, taking notes, how the child responds. Each of our employees gets like a company phone to be able to do that. So basically take notes on, the entirety of the session and the programs. So, sorry, I said I wasn't playing it. So why us? We support growth. This is a path that you can follow if you were to kind of come on with CSD. It's not the only path. If you want to do like maybe administration, like HR, recruiting, maybe marketing, maybe even IT, you start off as a behavior specialist, you do your kind of coursework, maybe you get your AA, AS, bachelor's degree, whatever it may be. And then we always send out internal opportunities where all of our employees can send out their interest for those different opportunities. A lot of our recruitment team, actually, they started off as a behavior specialist with CSD and kind of worked their way into those administration roles, or to even like our scheduling team. They started off as behavior specialists and worked their way into those admin roles. But, a definitely cut clear path for maybe folks that are going the psychology, maybe the social work, maybe even education route can follow these this path here. Start off as a behavior specialist, basically working on all the students. Get registered. We help you do that here internally with CSD. We provide the coursework needed to get certified, and we help pay for your exam because there is a state board exam. Think of it as like a CNA, right? It's in this field, it's called an RBT, and it basically just certifies you, and it's your credential as well. So you can put it on your resume, you take it with you. It's not property of CSD essentially. And then we have our clinical leaders or clinical leader interns as well. So generally these guys are kind of undergraduate level folks. They basically have their bachelor's degree. And two, they're going to be kind of working with both the family side and the technician side. So kind of making sure that technicians are trained, and on the other side, when it comes down to the family, making sure that the family needs are met as well. And then we have our BCBAs. Our BCBAs are essentially our head honchos. They make those initial risk assessments with the families. They make suggestions. They oversee the entirety of the program as well. If clinical leaders have questions, they can go to our BCBAs and get those asked. And then another kind of big thing is we just launched this tuition assistant program called Our Dreams Come True. True because those are our values. You can find those on our website. I won't kind of bore you too much with those kind of the values, but they're definitely kind of good to kind of have with the organization, and the organization definitely kind of follows and stays true to those values as well. But the tuition assistant program is, if you meet these requirements here, you're with us for 90 days, you're in good standing, you work at least 25 hours a week with less than 4% cancellation rate. It's a little bit blurry, so I apologize on that, but you would receive $5,250 on an annual basis in the form of tuition reimbursement. So that's regardless of major, regardless of school, and that's per calendar year as well. So if you're on semester based, you would receive half of that, at the end of fall semester, and then the other half during spring semester. And the cool thing about it too is there's no strings attached. So if you leave CSD after about a year, 2 years, however long it may be, we're not going to hunt you down and say like, hey, make sure to pay us back. We want to make sure that you get where you need to go, regardless of that. And we hope that you do that too, while we still support your growth internally. So those are the big nuts and bolts. Hopefully I kind of covered everything. I'll share the links as well when it comes down to, applying for a role like this. Our email or websites are on there as well. My contact information is there. So if you have questions, I always meet with students. So if students have questions about the role itself, I can always schedule like a 5 to 15 minute kind of call with students. But yeah, that's pretty much CSD in a nutshell. Sorry, I want to make sure that I pass the mic on to other folks as well. So any questions, I guess, Alexa, or things that maybe you want me to kind of cover?
Well, I feel like you covered it all. So I really appreciate that. And I really enjoyed actually seeing your PowerPoint and the growth, especially. I think that's a really great opportunity, and the tuition assistance for, the importance you're showing for valuing your employees. So not only, do you guys offer it, but it's like no strings attached, like you just said. So I think that's a really great initiative for someone to want to do this work, or people who are already doing this work and maybe just are looking to advance and grow. I know that that's not always possible with all companies. So I think that's really valuable and per se unique to you guys. I would love if you shared the video link with me. That would be great. You can share any links with me. Maybe just directly email me, and then I can actually share those out with some of our faculty as well, directly in, early childhood, psychology, elementary ed, and, just kind of get that out there as well to them. And if there's any last things you want to say before we pass it along.
Yeah, I think the only thing is it is an entry-level position. So really the main thing is, I was an economics major, and I did, the behavior technician work, and economics and working with children. That's as far as you can possibly get, right? Like there's no regression or sort of things like that you need to kind of worry about when working with children. So really, I think the biggest thing is we want to make sure you have your why down. Like, why do you want to work with children with autism? And then one of the big components too is having at least 3 to 4 days of available from like that 2 to 8. So those are usually when our sessions are available. But if you want to work maybe the school, let's say you just got your associate's degree and maybe that's all you want to kind of do for right now. We do have like the school-based needs, and those are more like full part-time jobs. They're called our part-time plus. Usually you have to be available from like 8 to like 3:30 for those school-based needs Monday through Friday. But our part-time hours, those are usually, as long as you're available 3 to 8 for three to 4 days out of the week, we should be able to find something in the area as well. But my contact information is there regardless. So if students have questions, they can always reach out to me as well.
Yes, and I have your information as well. So thank you so much, Diego. I really appreciate you taking time and coming and sharing the PT position and all the different ways that people can advance as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to pass it along to my colleague, Brittany.
Yes. And so last but not least, we have Lindsay from Gardent. Lindsay, would you be able to let us know about some of the positions that are available? I know we've had this conversation recently, but if you could share with our community.
Yeah, definitely. So again, my name is Lindsay. I work here at Garden Health. We are if you Google us, we are a precision oncology lab here at Redwood City. When people read that, a lot of people, I know I went to the job fair last year and some of the students were just walking off because they thought they would not be qualified for a position here at Garden Health. But what we do is patients send over their blood samples. These patients have been recently diagnosed or they've had cancer for many years, and they are now going through different types of treatments to fight the cancer. So Garden Health has developed a kit that now we don't have to be invasive and take tissue samples from cancer patients. We just draw blood, they send it over to our lab, and we have trained technicians who take the blood samples. Our lab is pre-analytical, so that means that we don't have any machines in our lab. All we're doing is logging in the samples. So we take a bunch of FedEx packages, open them, take out the insert, figure out what type of cancer this patient has, put it into our system, and all of our kits run through plasma, which is in the blood. So we train our technicians to log in the samples and then extract the plasma from the sample. And then we just take it over to our clinical department and they do all the actual testing. So we are currently looking for lab technicians who ideally it would be good to have somebody with some type of science background, but we do have some very successful employees in the lab right now that have an anthropology background. We have some business majors in there. We have some baristas who, didn't want to go to college and they were just working at Starbucks for a long time. So we really just need people who are very good, detail-oriented, hard workers. Like I said, we are a cancer research lab, so we obviously don't want to mess up any of these samples because these patients are pretty much drawing out all the blood they can to give it to us to run our kits. So if we mess up any of our samples and we have to ask these already, stressed patients for more blood, that's something that we don't want to do. So definitely people who could handle large volumes. I've been with the company for about 8 years. 8 months. And when I first started, we were getting about 350 samples a day. And just yesterday, we got 600 samples. So we are expanding. So just this morning, I had a meeting with our upper management and they have approved 35 new positions for this year. I'm very glad to say that here we are, I don't want to say overstaffed, but we want to ensure that we have enough people to take on all the volume that we get every day. We don't know what we're getting until we get here in the morning. That's because every day doctors are just drawing blood from these different cancer patients. So I'm pretty glad to say that we are fully staffed and always have enough people, including the PTO requests, to take on any volume that we get. So luckily we have 30 more positions because we are hoping to expand by about 50% more by the end of the year. So if we're getting about 600 samples now, we're hoping to get about 800 to 900 by the end of the year. So we're just trying to beat that and start getting the hiring process ready for an additional headcount. So like I said, ideally we would want somebody with a science background, but really what I'm looking for is detail-oriented, a hustler. I'm the PM shift supervisor. So we have 3 shifts. First shift starts at 7:30. The next shift starts at 10 a.m. And then my shift starts at 1 p.m. So obviously PM shift has to finish whatever's left over. So every team, I'm really glad to say that every team is really a team. It's team effort. No team wants to leave too much for the next shift over. So that's the kind of people that we are looking for in these interviews. Is our culture is very important to us here. And I feel like we have a very strong one where everybody comes in, try to do the best they can. They know that we have a good cause, which is helping these patients find out if their treatment is actually working or not. And if it's not working, then they could at least work with their doctors to change up the treatment options they have. And then they submit another blood sample later and see if their tumor is reducing or if their cancer is getting any better. So that's really what we're looking for. Just technicians. I know I went to the job fair and people were like, oh, I don't have a degree, I can't apply. But if you've worked in an environment where it's fast paced, you're giving, attention to detail, you learn quickly. Our training program is 3 months. So within 3 months, you will be trained on all aspects of our lab, which is pretty quickly, but we also attend to each person. We know people learn differently. So it's based on how quickly they learn. We do dedicate one trainer to each trainee. So everybody will get that special attention and time as they need. Again, all of our samples are very important. These patients come first. So we want to make sure that we don't let employees just run with the samples and not be fully trained. Some of the perks that we get from working here are, like I mentioned, there's 3 different shifts. So it really caters to whatever your lifestyle is. I know we have a couple moms here that need to leave early to pick up their kids. My PM shift is a more younger crowd and they just like to stay up late, so they don't mind working the later shift. Our starting rate, it depends on experience, but starting rate is $25 or higher, again, depending on years of experience. And we have a lot of development opportunities. People will start at an associate 1, and then we have associate 2, associate 3, then you could be a specialist, supervisor, manager, senior manager. So it goes on and on. And aside from our department, we have a tissue department. There's some patients that still want to go with the tissue option. So we do have that test in-house as well. So we do have a tissue department. And then we have a pharmacology department. So if somebody wants to start in our department and then they want to get into the tissue department or start working in the pharma department, those are other departments that they could pursue later on. We also have an IT department, bioinformatics, a lot of other departments that all help run these kits to release results. So the development opportunities are endless here. Aside from just development, we also have a personal caterer. So these are things that not a lot of companies have, but we have somebody that actually comes and cooks us lunch every day, and it's free for all employees. And then if you work the PM shift, we do close the cafeteria at 3 o'clock. So PM shift gets a DoorDash every day. So people don't ever have to bring lunch. The company pays for your lunch automatically. So that was a huge plus for me when I started. And then on Fridays, we give everybody a $15 like a gift card, and then you just go online and buy Starbucks or donuts or whatever you want. But every employee also gets $15 on Fridays to buy snacks, just to like it's Friday, guys, let's get things done. So you get the catering, we get the Friday snacks, and then we do have a break room filled with treats and drinks. All these fridges just full of snacks for employees, and it's all you could eat. So they just go in there during the breaks and just eat whatever they want. We do have 3 buildings. So each building comes with its own snacks. So people are just always eating here. We keep them well fed. And aside from that, we have a huge game room. We're adding more things to the game room so people could go to the game room during their breaks and during their lunch. And we have like tennis rackets, and we have like all these little games in there. And we have a 24-hour gym. It's pretty nice. I don't go to it often, but I've heard that it's a very nice gym. So that's also included to all employees that work at Garden Health. We really want to, like I said, keep that culture going, keep employees happy because they're doing the work. So we try to treat them the best that we can.
That is excellent. Thank you. I had a couple follow-up questions, and because you answered all the questions I was going to ask on paper. One is just a comment. Everyone here knows I love DoorDash. Alexa calls me Brittany DoorDashian. So that sounds like an ideal perk to me. But as far as the shifts, you mentioned they were the times they started. I know the labs are open Monday through Sunday. How many days a week are the lab technicians expected to come in for those shifts?
5 days a week. So we do, right now, we're currently only hiring Tuesday through Saturday for
Mhm.
those 3 specific shifts. We do have 3 people that work Sunday through Thursday. Because FedEx doesn't open on Sundays, we don't have a large volume on Sundays. But if we ever have backlog from Saturday, let's say we get a lot of samples on Saturday, we just hold the samples over for Sunday. So we have a few employees working Sunday, just in case we hold stuff over.
Thank you. And you did mention, so we have a couple Skyline College alumni who are currently working at Gardent. One has a degree in biotech. The other, I think her degree was in communications or something related. And she actually started as a lab technician and had no problem coming in and working and learning all of the skills involved. And the great thing about Skyline is I think almost all of our majors require students to have at least one lab class. So a little bit of a taste. And I just wanted to ask if you had anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up for today.
No, that's it. Thank you so much for this time.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing more about these roles. And I can't wait to see more students in your company. And I will turn it over to, I believe, Derek to wrap it on up.
Hey, that's me. Yeah, we just want to thank you guys, Sharif, Diego, Lindsay, again for coming. So we can hear about these awesome opportunities. We had some of our students here. It looks like they've dropped off. This would have been the time that I would have wanted to ask them if they had any questions for you guys. I don't have any other questions for you all. Oh, great, Lindsay, you're putting your contact info in there. That is fantastic. I was just about to ask if you guys wouldn't mind doing that. This obviously goes out. This will be recorded. All those listening, you know, our job is to help you guys find jobs. So please reach out to us so we can help connect you to these awesome companies and the positions there. So with that, I could let you all go unless anybody has anything else they would want to add. Final closing remarks. Thumbs up, America. Just
Thank you for having
2
us.
thumbs way up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Couldn't have
you
done it
all for
without you.
coming.